You're mid-sentence talking to someone, everything's flowing, and then it just vanishes. Whatever you were about to say is completely gone, like your brain slammed a door on it without warning. You sit there going, wait, what was I even saying? While the other person just watches you short circuit in real time. It happens to everyone, constantly, and there's a very specific reason your brain keeps doing this to you. Here's the first thing to understand. Your brain doesn't hold information the way a notebook does, with everything written down and waiting. It uses something called working memory, which is basically a tiny mental whiteboard. And that whiteboard is small. Most people can only hold around 3 or 4 separate items in working memory at once, whether that's numbers, ideas, or the next 3 words you were planning to say. So when you're talking, you're not just recalling facts. You're actively juggling what you're saying right now, what you're about to say next, and how the other person is reacting, all on that same tiny whiteboard. It doesn't take much for one of those things to get bumped off. Here's the part that actually makes this make sense. Working memory wasn't built for conversation at all. It evolved for short-term survival tasks like remembering where a predator just went or which direction water was in, while your body reacted in real time. It was never designed to hold a full sentence in perfect order, while also planning your next 3 sentences and reading someone's facial expressions. You're basically running modern small talk on hardware that was built for scanning the savannah, and honestly, it's a little impressive it works as well as it does. And here's where it gets more interesting. Talking is actually one of the most demanding things your brain does. While your mouth is producing one sentence, your brain is already assembling the next one, and simultaneously monitoring the listener's face for confusion, agreement, boredom, all of it. That's 3 or 4 cognitive tasks running at once, competing for the exact same limited space. So the moment something extra grabs your attention, a sound, a thought, someone else talking, there's a very real chance it just knocks your next sentence clean off the whiteboard before you even say it. But there's an even weirder factor at play, and it's called the doorway effect. Researchers found that walking through a doorway, literally just moving from one room to another, makes you significantly more likely to forget what you were just thinking about. Your brain treats physical spaces like chapters. Every time you cross a threshold, it files away everything associated with the old chapter and opens a blank page for the new one. If the thought you were about to say got mentally filed under kitchen and you just walked into the living room, your brain may have already archived it along with everything else from that room. It's not lost. It's just been boxed up somewhere you can't immediately reach. And this isn't just about walking between rooms. It happens with digital spaces too. Switching from a text conversation to a video, then back to a different app, functions almost exactly like walking through a doorway. Your brain treats each app or tab like its own little room, closing the mental door behind you every time you switch. So if you're the kind of person who checks your phone mid-conversation, you're not just getting distracted, you're actively triggering these context resets over and over, dozens of times a day. This is also why interruptions hit so hard. When someone cuts in mid-sentence or a notification goes off, your brain doesn't gently pause your original thought and wait politely. It treats the interruption like new priority information and starts overwriting the whiteboard immediately. Whatever you were holding on to has maybe half a second to survive before it gets wiped to make room, which is honestly a little rude of your own brain, considering it's supposed to be on your side. Stress makes all of this dramatically worse. When you're anxious, say right before you're about to speak in a meeting or mid-argument or trying to impress someone, your body releases cortisol, and cortisol actively shrinks the working memory space you have available. So in the exact moments where you most need to hold on to your train of thought, your brain is quietly cutting your mental whiteboard down to a fraction of its normal size. That's why people tend to blank out hardest during job interviews, first dates, or public speaking. Not because they're unprepared, but because their working memory is being squeezed at the worst possible time. So next time this happens to you, here's the good news. The thought almost never actually disappears. It's a retrieval problem, not a storage problem. The information is still filed away somewhere in your brain. You just lost the specific cue that was pointing to it, which is exactly why retracing your steps works so well. Go back to the room you were in, replay the last few sentences of the conversation, or even physically walk backward through that doorway. And the original context often pulls the thought right back out. So the next time you're mid-sentence and everything just goes blank, know this. Your brain isn't broken, and you're not losing your mind. You just asked a very small whiteboard to hold way more than it was ever built for.